श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् अरुणां करुणातरङ्गिताक्षीं धृतपाशाङ्कुशपुष्पबाणचापाम् अणिमाधिविरावृतां मयूखैः अहमित्येव विभावये भवानीम्. With the abundant blessings of our Seva, we have been able to proceed with LALITHA SAHASRANAMA explanatory discourse series. We are now on sloka number 58.
चतुष्षष्ट्युपचाराढ्य चतुष्षष्टिकलामयी महाचतुष्षष्टिकोटि योगिनी गणसेविता मनुविद्या चन्द्रविद्या चन्द्रमण्डलमध्यगा चारुरूपा चारुहास चारुचन्द्रकलाधरा
चतुष्षष्ट्युपचाराढ्या चतुष्षष्टिकलामयी. Chatushashti Upacharadhya. Adhya refers to plenty. That means we want to show our honor, our respect to Devi by being very liberal with reference to our upacharas during the puja. So we have Panchopachara as the minimum, 5. Then we have Shodashopachara, 16, which we are all used to, starting from Avahanam, ending with Deeparadhana, Naivedyam, Pradakshina Namaskara, etc., etc. But this Chatushashti Upachara is 64 Upacharas, which is recommended in Shastras. There are 64 Upacharas. In every puja you can do this, and mainly recommended for Devi. Now, what are these 64? Now, Bhaskara has consulted several Shastras, and then he has come out with a list of 64 Upacharas. In fact, Adi Shankara has composed Devi Chatushashti Puja Stotram, Chatushashti Upachara Puja Stotram, which is there in our Kamakoti website along with my English translation. If you see that, you will know what are the various, beautifully he has composed the stotram referring to all the 64. So if you read that, you will know what those 64 are. Now essentially, it starts with, it goes like this. We invoke Devi, she comes inside, her jewels are removed, and then she is given Abhyanga Snana with perfume oil, Abhyanga Snana. Then from the Majjana Shala, that is called Majjana Shala, where the Abhyanga Snana takes place, she is being taken to Alepa Mantapam. Alepa Mantapam is where further decoration takes place for her, ornamentation, that is garlands, perfumes, etc., etc. Alepa Mantapam. Then we go to Bhushana Mantapam. In every Mantapam, there is a gem-studded seat in which Devi is seated, and then the upacharas are performed. In Bhushana Mantapam, all the jewels are offered to her. Then after that comes the main puja, where she is taken to the Sri Chakra. In Sri Chakra, then our what we are used to, invoking her in the Sri Chakra, etc., etc. The various upacharas, they are all in great detail. all these upacharas, I'm just giving a little idea. All these upacharas are in great detail. Now, when she is taken to Sri Chakra, these various weapons, Pasha, Ankusha, Pushpabana, Ikshudanda, etc., are also offered to her. Now, how do you do these types of pujas? How do you offer Ikshudanda, etc.? Now, if you cannot offer the actual dravya, he says, you can use akshata or तत्तद्द्रव्येणोपचारान् अभावे कुसुमाक्षतैः मनसा भावयन् कुर्यात् तेन पूजा बलं भवेत् पूजा फलं भवेत् अभावे कुसुमाक्षतैः. So with flowers and akshatas should be along with haldi, turmeric, or along with saffron. Then that kind of reddish akshata should be used. He says, Shetakshatetna puja syat tripura parameshwari, not with white akshata, Kashmirairva haridreirva kumkumairva pirakta chandana pankakaihi, Sanjitan shalijan subdhan akhandan arpayet budhaha. That is why it is known as akshata, because it is akhanda. Each rice is the whole rice, not broken. He says akhandan. Now, this kind of using of flowers, akshata, etc., as a representation instead of the main upachara is permitted if you don't have all the resources, but it is not permitted for the minimum 5 upacharas. What are those 5? Panchopacharas: Gandha, Pushpa, Dhupa, Deepa, Naivedya. Gandha, that is candle paste; Pushpa, flowers; Dhupa, Deepa, and Naivedya. Now, all these 5, you cannot have a substitute. You must have them. And he says very clearly, Upacharan alabetu pushpadyair manasa smaret gandha pushpadu padeepa naivedyanyat maheshwari gandha dipanchaka bhave puja vyarthaiva sarvada. So goes this 64 upacharas, very elaborate puja. People do perform. Chatushashti kalamayi. Similarly, next comes to, the Rama comes to 64 kalas, 64 arts. Now, 64 arts or 64 branches of knowledge. That is how we have to understand. Now, again, there are different versions and different texts. Now, Bhaskar Raya recommends a certain group of 64. Now, it starts with Vedas, the 4 Vedas, then Vedangas, the 6 Vedangas, then the 4 Upavedas, then Tantras, Puranas, Shastras, then Kavyas and Alankara Natakas, Kavya, Alankara, Natakas. Then there are several mantras. He goes into detail, which are used in mantra prayoga. Then there are several handicraft, like Shilpa. Then there is the special shastras like Samudrika Shastra, etc. Then there are musical applications, playing mridangam, etc., etc., playing flute, etc., etc. They are all mentioned as one of the 64 kalas. Then Garuda Prayoga, that is cancelling the effect of poison. Then you have even wrestling, that kind of. Then you have Indrajala, Nrutta, even Chaurya, even stealing, thieving is one of the 64. You should know that, because there is a common saying, unless you know how to steal, you cannot catch a thief. So that is also included. Last 64th is Adrishyatvam, that is one of the siddhis where you become unseen. Now, there is no branch of knowledge which can be excluded from the purview of Devi. That is the meaning of listing these 64. That means anything which we consider as knowledge is the blessing of Devi, Chaturshashti Kalamayi. Kalamayi. So she is the form of those 64 arts. Then Mahachaturshashti Koti Yogini Ganasevita. Yogini Ganas or Devatas who are there to serve Lalita Parameshwari Devi. Now, how many are there? Yogini Ganas, the group of Yoginis, how many are there? Chaturshashti Koti, 64 crores. Imagine, 64 crores. Almost half of India's population of 140 crores. Now, 64 crores of Yoginis, how is the calculation given? There is a calculation for that. Now, he says, he starts like this, very beautiful calculation is given. He says, in Sri Chakra, where all these 64 crores are there in Sri Chakra. In Sri Chakra, the external, the most exterior, first avarana is what is called Trailokya Mohana Chakra, which is those 3 lines which you see. There you have 8 Matrika Shaktis, like Brahmi, etc., etc. Now, each of them is supported by 8 yoginis, 8 Matrika Shaktis, supported by each of them by 8 yoginis, like Akshobhya, etc., he says. So that takes us to 64 yoginis, 64 Shaktis. Now, each of these yoginis is supported by 1 crore yoginis. Each of these yoginis is supported by 1 crore yoginis. So, in the very first, outermost, first avarana, you have 64 crores of yoginis. Then you have 9 avaranas like this. Now, if you take 9 into 64, it comes to 576. So, that is why he says Maha Chaturshashti Koti. The word Maha refers to not just 64, it is a multiple of 64. 9 times 64, which is 576 crores. This is the explanation given by Bhaskaraya. Maha Chaturshashti Koti Yogini Ganasevita. 576 crores of Yogini Devi are serving Lalita Parameshwari, occupying various avaranas out of the 9 avaranas in the Sri Chakra, starting from the outermost to the innermost triangle. Now, there is a very interesting story relating this Nama to Bhaskararaya's Charitra. That story goes like this. Bhaskararaya spent most of his time in Tamil Nadu, though he came from Maharashtra. We saw this in our introduction. And he was honored by the king of Tanjavur, and he spent a lot of time in areas around Tanjavur, and Bhaskararajapuram was given to Brahmanas in honor of Bhaskararaya by the king. Now, he also spent a lot of time in a place called Tiruvadai Marudur, Madhyarjuna Kshetra near Kumbakonam. In fact, he spent a lot of time there. Now, any Vidwan is supposed to go to Kashi and establish his scholarship. That was the practice in olden days. And Bhaskararaya also went to Kashi, not with any view of showing off his scholarship, not with that. He was a very humble person, a Devi worshipper, great scholar, unparalleled scholar. So he went there for having darshan of Vishwanatha and bathing in Ganga, which normal practices of devout Hindus. He went there and he was doing his Devi Puja, elaborate Devi Puja, which people there were not used to. So some of them thought that this fellow is a cranky fellow, is doing a different type of puja we are not used to. And as usual, any scholar, there is always enmity among scholars. So some scholars became envious of him, of his scholarship. They must have come to know of his scholarship by interacting with him. So they didn't like the way he did the puja. They were envious of his scholarship. So they said, "We want to debate with you." He said, "Okay, welcome." Then the scholar group came and started debate with Bhaskaraya in Kashi. Now, during the course of the debate, they came to this LALITHA SAHASRANAMA explanation. They came to this Mahachaturshashti Koti Yogini Ganatevita Nama. He says 64 crores are mentioned. In fact, many times 64 is mentioned. So forget that even at least 64 crores. Can you name all the 64 crore yoginis? Can you give a description of those yoginis? This was the question. Who can do that? Only Devi can do that. We don't know. Nobody knows. There is no Shastra which gives the list of 64 crore names, etc., etc. But Bhaskara did not give that kind of answer. He said, "Yes, I know, I can give you. Write down. Take a piece of paper, palm leaf in those days, and then write down." He started dictating not just the name of each of the yoginis, he started describing their appearance, the weapons they have, the special features, etc. for each of the yoginis. Naturally, how can you go on writing about 64 crores? So people got tired, and the chief among those scholars suddenly he told everybody to stop. Now don't go on with this. This is foolish. Then they asked him, why? What is foolish about? Then they said, no, he is not answering this question. Devi herself is answering this question. I have seen Devi sitting on his shoulder and giving the answers. So how can you debate with Devi? He is only mouthing what the Devi tells him to mouth. So they accepted defeat. They fell at his feet. They became his very close, intimate disciples. This is the story of Bhaskara Raja connected with this name. So we have 64 upacharas, 64 parts, forms of knowledge, and 64 crores of yoginis. In fact, 9 times 64 crores of yoginis in the 9 avaranas of Sri Chakra. Chaturshashtupacharadhya Chaturshashti Kalamayi Maha Chaturshashti Koti Yogini Ganate Vita. We proceed with the next shloka.
Manuvidya Chandramandala Madhyaga Charu Rupa Charuhasa Charu Chandra Kaladhara Charajara Jagannatha Chakra Rajani Ketana Parvati Padmanayana Padmaraga Samaprabha.
Manuvidya Chandravidya. Now, we saw earlier, out of the many upasakas of Devi, 12 are taken for special mention. Manuschandra Kuberascha, Lopa Mudra Chamanmatha, Agasthyaragnis Suryascha, Indraskanda Shiva Tatha, Krodha Bhattarako Devyaha, Dvadachami Upasakaha. Starting with Manu and Chandra and ending with Krodha Bhattaraka, which is the name for Durvasa. And in between you have Agastya, Lopamudra and others. So each of them has developed his own mantra, slightly different from what we know as Panchadashakshari mantra. There are slight differences. That is why each of them is called Vidya. Manu Vidya, Chandra Vidya. Vidya developed by Manu, Vidya developed by Chandra. Now these Bijaksharas are slightly different in that mantra, Panchadashakshari mantra. It still remains as Panchadashakshari. What we are presently using in our usage is called Kaji Vidya, starting with Ka. And what is propounded by Lopamudra, the wife of Agastya, is called Hadi Vidya. It starts with Ha. So, but similarly, there are other Vidyas associated with Manu, Chandra, Durvasa, etc., etc. So, this is Manu Vidya and Chandra Vidya. That means these Vidyas have developed because of the special blessings of Devi That is why it is given as the name of the Devi. Devi is that Vidya. Devi is Manu Vidya. Devi is Chandra Vidya. Devi has taken the form of that Vidya, of the form of that mantra. We have seen earlier, Panchadashakshari mantra is nothing but the form of Devi. Similarly, all these mantras, developed by all these 12 great Devi devotees, are also equally Devi's forms. Chandra Mandala Madhyaga, one who resides in the middle of the Chandra Mandala, the zone of Chandra. What does that mean? It means no doubt that the moon, whom we are seeing every day, she is in the middle of the Chandra Mandala, and normally our Seva offers worship on Paurnami day after the Paurnami Puja. He goes to the open, looks at the moon, and then recites LALITHA SAHASRANAMA in silence. This every Paurnami, this happens in our Srimatham. So this is recommended in Shastra that Devi should be worshipped in Chandra, particularly on a Paurnami night. So Shiva himself says this in Shiva Purana. Aham Agni Shiro Nishtaha Tvam Soma Shirasasthita Agni Somatmakam Vishwam Avabhyam Samatishtitam. Aham Agni Shiro Nishtaha. I am in the flame, in the pinnacle, in the top of the flame. So that is why in Yaga, in Agni is always associated with Shiva, and the Agni Kunda is always associated with Vishnu. This is in every Yaga. In every Yaga, Yaga Agni is associated with Shiva, Yaga Kunda is associated with Vishnu. There are several shapes for those Kundas, Garuda, etc., for various yajnas, for various applications. Now, Tvam Somashirasasthita. So he is telling Devi, you are situated, you are seated on the head of Chandra. Soma Shirasasthita. Agni Somatmakam Vishwam Avabhyam Samatishtitam. Agni and Soma are powerful because of us. He says, Avabhyam Samatishtitam. Because we go and sit there, they are powerful and they are helping the world. Without Agni and Soma, nothing can happen. It is Chandra who gives nutritive value to all the crops. We have seen it before. It comes in Bhagavad Gita also. So, Surya, no doubt, is essential for the life of the crop, for growing and for the life of the crop. But for nutrition, you need the Amrita from Chandra. This is what Shastra says. So, he says so. Now, apart from this is there, no doubt. Apart from this, the Chandra Mandala can also mean, as per the commentary, it can also mean the Chandra Mandala, which is there in Sahasrara Chakra, in Kundalini, after the 6th chakra. We talked about Sahasrara Chakra at the top of the head, just at the Brahmarandra area. Now that Sahasra Dala Padma has got a Chandra Mandala at the middle. We saw that. And in the middle of that Chandra Mandala, nectar, Amrita is oozing from Devi's feet. And Devi is there along with Parameshwara. This is what we saw. This is what we have been told in Kundalini Yoga in Sahasra Dala Padma. So he says, Chandra Mandala Madhyaga refers to that state of Devi being in the middle of that Chandra Mandala in the Sahasrara Padma. Charu Rupa, beautiful form. Now, all forms of Devi are beautiful. Now, this refers to all forms. All forms. There are many, many forms of Devi. We know about Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati. We know about Dasha Mahavidya. We know about Sapta Matrika. We know about so many. Each of the kshetras you go, there is a form of Devi. There is a certain name, with a certain Kala Purana, etc. Now, all of them are beautiful. That's what he says. Charu Rupa, beautiful form. Charu Hasa, her smile is so beautiful, so enchanting. Now, Adi Shankara says, Ambat Padakshnoho Anuram Sumali Tavaiva Mandasmita Vindurinduhu. Tadakshnoho anuhu amshumali. Your eye, one anu, one small tiny part of your eye is Surya. Amshumali means Surya. A tiny part of your eye is Surya, and a tiny part of your Mandasmita, your gentle smile, is Indu, is Chandra. Savaiva Mandasmita Bindurindu. That is Charuhasa. Charu Chandra Kaladhara. The direct straight meaning is that she is wearing a beautiful Chandra Kala on her head, like Parameshwara does. But there is a deeper meaning. Now we saw 35 tattvas, 25 tattvas, Shivadi Avanyantam, we said, from Parameshwara to Avani to Bhumi, listed in Shakta theory. And it it contains all these 20 commonly known tattvas, that is the Pancha Bhutas, Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Jnanendriyas, Pancha Tanmatra, these 20 plus the Antakarana, plus there are some Shiva tattvas, there are some Devi tattvas, etc. All this together comes to 25 Visa. But it stops with Shiva. But there is a 26th tattva which Shakta emphasizes, that is called Sadakya. It's a technical name given in Shakta literature. Sadakya, that is Shiva Shakti Yukta, union of Shiva and Shakti. Now that is called the Chandra Kala. That tattva where Shiva and Shakti are united is called Chandra Kala, the 26th tattva. So Charu Chandra Kaladhara refers to her Devi's appearance along with Shiva as Sadakya Tattva, the 26th Tattva. Next is Charachara Jagannatha. Chara, Achara, moving and non-moving objects. Chara is moving, Achara is non-stationary. There are objects that are generally classified into two classes in the world. Those which move and those which do not move, like a tree, like a mountain, etc. The water in the river keeps moving, that is Chara. So Chara, Achara, Jagannatha, the whole world, whole Jagat, consisting of Chara and Achara objects, she is the Ishwari, Natha. Chakraraja Niketana. Niketanam means residence, the abode. Devi has as her abode Chakraraja. Sri Chakra is known as Chakraraja, the king of chakras, Sri Chakra. Because there are other yantras which are similar to Sri Chakra, like Durga Saptadashi has got Saptadashi yantra, etc. There are many. Even Saundral Hari, we saw every shloka has got a yantra. They are also known as chakras. Yantras of Devi are generally known as chakras. Now this is Chakra Raja, Sri Chakra. That is why there are 9 chakras, 9 avaranas, 9 chakras, starting with Trailokya Mohanam. So that is Sri Chakra where Devi resides. Parvati, she is the daughter of Parvata Raja Himavan, Parvati. Padmanayana, having eyes like lotus flower, Padmanayana. Padmaraga Samaprabha, having radiance, having shine, having brilliance, Prabha, like Padmaraga. Padmaraga is a ruby, red stone. So she emits red shine from her form. So he is comparing it with Padmaraga. You can also take it as another meaning. The commentator says that if you take Padma as red-colored lotus, Padmaraga is the red color of the red-colored lotus. He is having radiance of that type. So we have the various Vidyas, the Sadakya Tattva, the 26th Tattva, being Ishwari of the entire creation, being resident of Sri Chakra and her eyes and her form so beautiful and radiant. Manu Vidya, Chandra Vidya, Chandra Mandala Madhyaga, Charu Rupa, Charu Hata, Charu Chandra Kaladhara, Chara Chara Jagannatha, Chakra Rajani Ketana, Parvati Padmanayana, Padmaraga Samaprabha.
पंच प्रेतासनासीना पंच ब्रह्म स्वरूपिणी चिन्मयी परमानंद विज्ञान घन रूपिणी ध्यान ध्यातृध्येय रूपा धर्मा धर्म विवर्जिता विश्वरूपा जागरिणी स्वपंती तैजसात्मिका
Pancha Pretasanatena, having her feet on 5 dead bodies. What does it mean? She is, next is Pancha Brahma Swarupini. She is of the form of 5 Brahma Swarupas. Let us look at the Brahma Swarupas first. We have seen earlier, she is seated on a mancha, on a cot, which has 4 legs. Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, and Ishvara are the 4 legs. And Sadashiva is the bedspread on which she is seated. So there are 4 legs and the spread on the top on which she is seated. On this, Kameshwara and Kameshwari both are seated, and Kameshwari is seated on the left lap of Kameshwara, that is our Lalitha Parameshwari. This is what we have seen before, this is what Saundarya also described beautifully. So that is Pancha Brahma, that is the 5 or actually Brahma Swarupa. Brahma has no Swarupa, we have seen before. Nirakara, Nirguna, etc. That is the description of Brahma. But when it takes a form out of compassion towards Jivas, the forms taken are these 5. Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, Ishvara and Sadashiva doing the 5 Kritya, Pancha Kritya. Creation, sustenance, annihilation, and then concealing, and then blessing. These are the 5. Tirodhana and Anugraha. Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, Tirodhana and Anugraha. Now each of these Brahma Swarupa performs those functions. Now why he is calling it as Pancha Preta? Why he is using the word Preta? He is using the word Preta to emphasize that though you have 5 Brahma Swarupa, they are not independent. They will become Preta if Devi withdraws her power from these 5 entities. This is what he is trying to tell us. So we should not get confused that they are all equally powerful, they are all forms of Devi. Yes, they are forms of Devi, no doubt. In the sense that Devi has given her power to each of them, so they act with that power. To that extent, they are powers of Devi, forms of Devi, no doubt. But it does not mean that they are independent of Devi. There is only one Devi who is the Ishwari, who is controller of all these 5 Brahma Swarupas, Pancha Preta Sanatina, because repeatedly Shastra says that they lose their power if Devi withdraws. Right? The very first sloka of Saundarya says that Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shakta Prabhavitam Nache Devam Devo Nakhadu Kushalaha Spanditumapi. Not even, he cannot even move. This is what we saw. This has been repeatedly mentioned. He is quoting from several texts. Jnanarnava he quotes, for example, he says, Brahma Vishnushcha Rudrashcha Ishwarashcha Tada Shivaha Pancha Preta Vararohe Nishchala Yevate Tada. They are Pancha Preta. He is confirming that. Nishchala Yevate Tada. Nishchala, they cannot move. Brahmana Parameshani Kartrutvam Srishtirupakam Vama Shaktistu Sajneya Brahma Preto Na Samshayaha. If Vama is the name of the Shakti of Brahma, also known as Brahmi, we know her as Brahmi, but Shakta literature talks as Vama. Now, in the absence of Vama, Brahma cannot do any creation. Like this, he goes on for all the 5. Tada Shivo Maha Pretaha Kevalo Nishala Priye. This Shiva himself says this. He is Mahapreta in the absence of Devi. Satya Vinagrato Devi Katam Katanchidapi Nakshamaha. Katanchidapi Nakshamaha. He cannot do anything. In whatever manner, whatever he may try, he cannot do anything. He is incapable. That is Shiva's statement in Jnanarnava. So like this, there are several statements which confirm this concept of Pancha, Preta and Pancha Brahma. Now, coming to Pancha Brahma, just now we saw the 5 forms. Apart from that, there are other interpretations for Pancha Brahma Swarupani. Pancha Brahma is a common term used to describe the 5 phases of Parameshwara. Now, just now we saw Parameshwara himself cannot act without Devi's power. Now, he has divided himself into 5 forms, in 5 phases. Ishana, Tatpurusha, Aghora, Vamadeva, and Sadyojata. They are also known as Pancha Brahma. So, this is another way of saying Pancha Brahma Swarupini. Now, Adi Shankara says in the Stotra, Kumbha Valila Purushastu Pancha Yadrishikam Samlapitam Trayite Ambat Vadakshnoho Anuram Shumali Tavaiva Mandasmita Bendurinduho Kumbha Valila. When you assume male form, whether it is Shiva or whether it is Krishna, when you assume a male form, they act as 5 entities, Purushastu Pancha, doing those 5 krityas. Similarly, whatever you speak, Yadrichikam Tam Lapitam Prayite, whatever you speak, they are the 3 Vedas. Whatever you speak constitutes the Vedas. Ambat Padakshnoho Anuram Shumali Tavaiva Mandasmita Bendurinduho. In fact, this part only we saw earlier, saying that it is a tiny part of your eye which has become sun, a tiny part of your gentle smell which has become Chandra. Chinmayi. Now here comes Chinmayi Paramananda Vijnana Ghanarupini. Chinmayi means Jnana. Sati, Chitu, Ananda is Parabrahma Swarupa we have seen. Now, generally, we associate Sat with Shiva. Though Shiva is no different from Devi, Devi only divided herself into 2, Shiva and Shakti. That we should keep in mind. So having divided herself into Shiva and Shakti, Shiva is associated with Sat. That means he is like a tree, like a yogi. He will not move. Permanent entity, that is Sat. Whereas Chit is associated with Devi. That is why he is known as, here Devi is known as Chinmayi. Chit is knowledge, consciousness. Chaitanya we say, that is why. Paramananda, then the third entity is Ananda. Sat, Chit and Ananda. So Chit and Ananda are associated with Devi. That is what he is now referring to. In fact, even the Upanishad, he quotes from Upanishad, Yo vai bhuma tat sukham. Chandogya Upanishad says that Bhuma Vidya, that is, the Ananda which you get from Devi cannot be measured. It is Bhuma, immeasurable, very large, very huge. That only is Ananda. Yo vai bhuma tat sukham. That only is Sukham. Whatever we call as Sukha is not Sukha because they are all transient. So Chinmayi and Paramananda goes with Chit and Ananda in Sat, Chit and Ananda. Then what is Vijnana Ghanarupini? Now Vijnana Ghanarupini is part of Chinmayi only. Chit, that jnana, that consciousness, if you consider when it takes a form, because it is formless, Chit and Sat and Ananda are formless. That is why they are characteristics of Parabrahma. When Devi takes a form, what happens to the power of Chit? Chit becomes solidified, Ghana, solid, concentrated, essence. The essence of Chit is in her form, Vijnana Ghanarupini. Why it is called Vijnana? Because it is special. Jnana is to be distinguished from Vijnana. Of course, in terms of Bhagavad Gita, there is a separate chapter called Jnana Vijnana Yoga. There, Jnana refers to knowing that Veda exists, Bhagavan exists, Devi exists, and we have to reach Devi. Knowing that is Jnana. Vijnana is not just knowing, becoming. This is the difference. Vijnana is actually becoming. The experience which you get when you become. That is called Vijnana as per Bhagavad Gita, which also can be taken as the interpretation here. Vijnana Ghana Rupini, that experience itself is there along with Jnana in the Chinmayi state, in the Parabrahma state, formless state. But when it takes the form, it becomes Ghana because of the form. Form is Ghana, solidified, concentrated. Vijnana Ghana Rupini. Dhyana Dhyatru Dheya Rupa. We have seen this before. Even in action, there is a karta, there is a karma, and there is a person to whom this karma is directed. Isn't it? Similarly, jnana, knowing, the person who knows. Then the act of knowing. Then what you know, the object of knowledge. So there are three always. In all these actions, there are three. Similarly, in dhyana also, there are three. Dhyana, dhyatru, dhyaya. Dhyana is the process of meditation. Dhyatru is the person who meditates. It can be male or a female. That is why Dhyatru is the common name for both of them. Dhyaya, because there have been great meditators, great Shastrajnas, females also in Upanishads, like Gargi, etc. Dhyaya is the object of meditation, on whom you are meditating. Now, this is three in the meditation state. We have seen this before. In the case of Samadhi, these three become one. That is the Advaita stage when the Yatru, the person who started meditation, disappears. He no longer exists. He merges with Jaya. Naturally, dhyana process is over. You have reached the destination. So the path of travel is over, naturally. And the person who travels has merged with the destination. This is the point here. Jnana, Jatru, Dhyaya, Rupa. This is something which is the foundation of Advaita. All Advaita texts emphasize this aspect. Dharma, Dharma, Vivarjita. Dharma, Adharma, Vivarjita. Now, Shastra prescribes Dharma, Shastra prescribes Adharma. We have seen it before. That is, things to be done, Vidhi, things which should not be done, which is Nishedha, Vidhi, Nishedha. This is what Shastra says, right from Veda. Veda, in fact, sets out the basic rules, and Shastra elaborates the Smritis. Various rishis have given us various Smritis, Manu, Yajnavalkya, etc. Now, those Smritis give elaborate rules, elaborating what Veda said in brief. Now, all of them are categorized in the form of Dharma and Adharma. Now, all this is for whom? For human beings. For those who are incomplete, for those who are insufficient in knowledge, for those who are still traveling the path of knowledge, for them, because they have what is known as a durvasana, which they have accumulated over several births, and those vasanas have to be eliminated. Vasana kshayam. And the very mind in which vasana crops up, mind itself has to go. Mano nasha. Then only you become one with the destination, one with the dhyaya. Then you attain what is known as Sayujya state. You become one with Devi. Now, till that stage is reached, you are still a jiva. When you are a jiva, you are subject to karma, you are subject to punya, papa, you are subject to dharma, adharma. You cannot violate those rules. A jnani can violate, he will never violate, but he can violate if required, because he is equal to Devi. though he is holding a body, that is why he is known as Jivan Mukta. He is liberated while holding the body, while in the body. So for him, this rule doesn't apply. But for him, all other jivas, this rule applies. That is dharma and adharma. But the rule does not apply to jnani, does not apply to Devi, obviously. That is why dharma, adharma, vivarjita. She is devoid of the concept of dharma and adharma because she is perfection. Purna, purnamidam. Somebody who is purna, who is perfect, does not have any imperfection, does not have any karma vasana, does not have any dirt. Then where is the question of dharma and adharma? Now here he is adding a beautiful clause to this explanation. He says, when we talk about dharma as enunciated in Vedas and Shastras, there is something known as deshachara. If he says that also should be considered as dharma. Deshachara, deshe deshe acharaha paramparya kramagataha. Something which has come traditionally in that particular area. Amnayai aviruddhascha sadharma parikirtitaha. If it is not in contradiction to Amnaya, that is Veda. If it does not go against Vedic provision, it should be treated as dharma. Sadharma parikirtitaha. He is giving a beautiful additional clause here. Well, there are other technical Shakta type of interpretation. We need not go into them. Vishwarupa Jagarini Swapanti Tejasastika. Now comes the next set of, all these are related to Jiva's condition from that Dhyana Dhyatri onwards. The namas relate to the condition of a Jiva. Till then we were talking about Devi herself, the form of Devi, her characteristics, her gunas, etc., her compassion, etc. Now we have come down to the level of Jiva, and what happens to the Jiva, what is the relation of Jiva, how Jiva can come up. These are the subjects which are contained in these names. He can come up if he follows the path of Dharma, if he eschews adharma, like that. Vishwarupa Jagarini Swapanti Tejasatmika. Now we are having three stages in our everyday life. We keep awake, we go to sleep, and we dream. These are the three, which Shastra repeatedly talks about these three. Why dream state is given importance, we will know when we go into Vedanta. For that you have to study Vedanta. Why Vedanta refers to this stage of dream in the three, why it is given importance. We think now the dream is one of those things which are not, it is not important. That's what we think in our normal, but Shastra doesn't say so. Shastra gives equal importance to these three states. Now, when you are in waking state, you are known as Vishwa, Vishwarupa. When you are in sleeping state, Swapanti, you are known as Taijasa. Why Vishwarupa Jagarini? In the waking state, you are known as Vishwarupa. He is also known as Vaishwanara, that is the sum total. We will not get into that kind of definition, etc. That is the sum total of all jivas is known as Vaishwanara, he says. Now that is for those who want to go into technicalities of Upanishad. Now, the person who is awake, what does he do when he is awake? He employs his karmendriyas and jnanendriyas constantly. His eyes, his ears, his nose, all these indriyas are constantly in action. Constantly he is interacting with the outside objects, isn't it? That's what he does. Unless he is in a very deep meditative state. Even in meditation, there is still the three we saw, jhana, jatra, jaya, even there. So in all other normal states, he is dealing with the world. World means Vishwa. The Chara, Achara we saw, isn't it? The moving and non-moving objects. That is the created world. So, Devi is this Vishwa and Devi is this Jiva. Devi is entertaining this Jiva during that experience by means by being in the state of Vishwa. By being in the state of Vishwa, she is entertaining this Jiva. That is Vishwarupa Jagarini. Jagarini means one who is awake. Jagarini. That is Devi. Devi who is awake. He is not saying Jiva is awake. It is Jiva who is awake. It is Jiva who is awake. But since Jiva has no existence independent of Devi, without Devi, even Shiva doesn't move, then where is the question of Jiva using the Karmendra, Jnanendra, interacting, etc., etc., without the power given to him by Devi. So that's why this is Jagarini. Devi who is in the form of Jiva who is awake. And she is also the Vishwa with whom this Jiva who is awake is interacting. Both are same Devi. This is something very subtle, very beautiful. Vishwarupa Jagarini. Swapanti Taijasasmika. Similarly, when the Jiva sleeps, deep sleep, the Shastra always says deep sleep, not ordinary sleep. Because ordinary sleep, there is still some action of the Indriya. You may move your body. You may just be about to enter into a dream state. That is all not really deep sleep. So Swapanti refers to deep sleep. When you are completely motionless, you don't know what you are, where you are. You don't know anything. But your body has life. Devi is still present in your body, and she is the one who is giving you that power even during deep sleep. That is Tejas, Tejas Atmika. Without her Tejas, you would be dead. Because of her Tejas, your heart is functioning, your lungs are functioning. And not only that, Shastra repeatedly refers to another aspect here. Shastra says, when you wake up next day morning, you say, oh, I had a beautiful night, very good sleep, excellent sleep. What does that mean? You slept so well that you didn't know anything. Those 7 hours or 8 hours you have spent knowing nothing about the world, nothing about your body, nothing about anything. But you could say that you had an excellent sleep. How? If you knew nothing, this is what Shastra repeatedly puts this question. If you knew nothing, you cannot say, I had a beautiful sleep. You only can say that I started sleeping at so and so time, I have no waken up. This is what you can say. You cannot say, I had a good sleep, I enjoyed the sleep. You cannot say that. What is there to enjoy? Who is there to enjoy? Yes, there is Devi who is enjoying. That is Tejasatmika, who is giving you the Tejas, who is giving you the power to say that you enjoyed. Even during deep sleep, when you think you are doing nothing, she is acting. That is why Swapanti Tejasatmika. Next comes the dream state in the next shloka. We will go to that. So this is what we have to, I mean, I am giving a very basic explanation. There are deeper Shakta associated explanations given by Bhaskar Raya, and he goes into all the Panchatanmatras, Pancha Bhutas, etc., etc. We need not go into, if we understand this basic principle, that is good enough for us. So, Devi is of the form of Pancha Brahma, Pancha Preta. She is of the form of Satya, Chitti, Ananda. She is of the Triputi form, Dhyana, Dhyatra, and Dhyaya. And she is Dharma and Adharma. And in the waking state, she is the world and the person who is awake. And in the deep sleep state, she is the person who sleeps, and she is the person who gives you the power to say, I slept well, and she is the power to keep you alive by functioning as your heart, as your lungs, etc., as your vital organ. Pancha Pretasanatina Pancha Brahmaswarupini Chenmayi Paramananda Vijnana Dhanarupini ध्यानध्यातृध्येय रूपा धर्मा धर्म विवर्जिता विश्वरूपा जागरिणी स्वपन्ति तैजसात्मिका.
सूक्ता प्राज्ञात्मिका तुर्या सर्वावस्था विवर्जिता सृष्टिकर्त्री ब्रह्मरूप गोप्त्री गोविन्दरूपिणी संहारिणी रुद्ररूप तिरोधानकरीश्वरी सदाशिव अनुग्रहदा पंचकृत्य परायणा.
I made a mistake. Swapanti refers to dream state, not the deep sleep state. Supta refers to deep sleep state. Swapanti refers to the dream state because in dream you think that you are active. You have the tejas of Devi. You have, that is why that is known as tejas and this is known as prajna. So there's a subtle difference between tejas and prajna. Tejas is something which goes out. Prajna is deep inside, knowledge which sits inside you. That is prajna. Tejas is something, we say on seeing somebody else, he has got a lot of tejas, something which shows itself out. That shows itself out in enabling you to dream and to enjoy the dream experience. You enjoy comfort, you enjoy fear, you enjoy many emotions during dream. That is Swapanti Tejasatmika. So during the dream state, you are the dreamer, she is the dreamer, and she is also the object of dream. And she is also the power which enables you to dream. That is Tejas. That power which later on you are saying, I saw this so and so in the dream. I became a king, I enjoyed all the powers of the king, or I went to Kashi, I had bath in Ganga. You are saying so many things. Now all those experiences, all those powers come out of her Tejas. So Tejasatmika. So that was my mistake. Supta Prajnatmika. Supta is deep sleep. And in deep sleep, like we said earlier, after sleep you are saying, I had a good sleep. So you had a prajna during the sleep. That means you were alive. You were functioning. Your vital organs were functioning. You had the basic consciousness. The basic consciousness is prajna. That is why prajnatmika, she is known as, that diva is known as prajna in that state, deep sleep state. He is known as prajna. In the waking state, he is known as Vishwarupa or Vaishwanara, and in the dreaming state, he is known as Taijasa. These are technical terms which Upanishad uses, he is using here. Surya is the fourth state. Now, what is the fourth state? Fourth state is what we saw earlier also in Samadhi. In Samadhi, you have lost your mind, you have lost your body, you have lost everything, your mind has become integral with Devi. That means Devi alone exists. Devi alone functions as your prana, because your prana is still functioning. Your body, vital organs are still functioning. But you are not conscious of the functioning of the vital organs, prana, etc., etc. You are completely in the form of jnana, knowledge. Now, this is something which we cannot understand unless we experience it. That is Turyavastha, the fourth state. Turya means fourth. We saw three states which all the jivas normally go through every day. They know it. Turya means fourth. Now, Upanishad stops with fourth. But in Shakta literature, they talk about a fifth state, Turyatita, the beyond the fourth. Now, the distinction they make between the fourth and the fifth state. Fifth state is the final one, the Sayujya state. What the fourth state is considered as Sayujya in Vedanta, Upanishads, etc. In Shakta literature, they consider the fifth state as equivalent to that Sayujya state. Now, what is the difference? In the Turya state, fourth state, there is a little bit of the body consciousness. You have lost everything, lost mind, etc., etc. There is a little bit. Like we say, if we keep something of great smell in a particular jar and you remove all that, you remove all the material, even then the smell remains, a little bit of smell remains in the jar. That is the example given. So like that, a little bit karma shesha or vasana shesha remains there in that state, fourth state, because it is very difficult to travel from third to fourth. That is what Jnani's Shastra tells us. Because your body consciousness, body knowledge, body experience is so intimately connected with you, it is difficult to overcome that. So they introduce the fourth and fifth, the entry in between state. Well, this is a technical thing, we need not go into that. Sarvavastha vivarjita means one who is devoid of all the states. That is where Surya and Sarvavastha vivarjita are distinguished by introducing this fifth state. Surya refers to the fourth state. Sarvavastha vivarjita refers to devoid of all the five states. Devi who is above all the five states, because all the five states are for the Jiva. Now, I think we have to stop now. Time is up. Supta prajnatmika turya sarvavastha vivarjita. This goes with the earlier Tejas Atmika, etc., etc. That's why we are right in concluding here. Srishtikarti, Brahmarupa, etc. is another set of activities which we will take up in our next session. Srishtikarti, Samharini, Sadashiva Anugrahata, Panchakritya Parayana. So they form a group. So we will take up that group in the next section. Any questions?
If you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask questions. Any questions, anybody? Any questions? No. Okay, no questions, Guruji.
Okay. So we close for the day. I wish all of you all the best. Devi's Anugraha, let Devi's Anugraha be on all of us. We meet again next Saturday at 7 p.m. IST, same time. Namah Parvati Pataye Har Har Mahadeva Sarvatra Govinda Nama Govinda Shri Lalita Parameshwariyai Jaya Jaya.
Thank you, Guruji.